Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your Commander-in-Chief of Abbotsford. And it's well documented why, to bring the best into Abbotsford and take it over. We're going to see a fight, and you're going to see the Abbotsford police start making public statements and statements that Abbotsford police can't be removed. We're deeply embedded in Abbotsford. We know the community really good. You know, we spend a lot of time. We know where all the drug dealings are and everything. They got to pull themselves up. They got to try to pull their mess out, because it's not them. Who's running the company and owns the company was the elite establishment of Abbotsford. The officers cannot be trusted. I don't care how many years and what comes out of their filthy mouth, because it's bullshit. It's a bloody lie. I want to give you the facts. I want to show you what great people do and honest people do. First of all, I want to say to Abbotsford residents and Abbotsford and myself, we own a mission of men and women, RCMP, who are fathers, husbands, and everything, a tremendous thanks of what they did in Abbotsford. Abbotsford shithole detachment with its underwriters and its junk and all police. There's a sympathy for police. Got a business card, and it says strength within the community. Weak, pathetic garbage. Let me outline something. When Henry Brown wanted to do something, he used and emphasized the police department and shook it. Then he got Ken and Vicky Holmes to prop it up with big stories behind him. When Darren Brown opened the door showing who the elites were, how he controlled Vicky Holmes' little rag of Abbotsford, so there wasn't public outcry, through Ed Fast and Mike DeYoung, Darren Brown took a door open that was unbelievable. The Abbotsford veterans in their uniform, my gun, my bulletproof vest, that gun they wore, swirled their testicles and their brains weren't thinking anymore. I'll never let go. They'll never let me go. I'm important. Tell them I could sniff the drugs out. Tell them I know where the prostitutes are. And tell them I know where everybody is in the election to beat them up. When Darren showed me that Henry was using the Abbotsford police through Mike Sir and the top investigators to find people's license plate through the database and beat them in the election to weaken them, and then Darren showed me the attack on Councillor Mogel, it was the RCMP said, film it. You're going against the police department, and that is a very dangerous thing. Without that 100% proof, you're going to get yourself in a big problem. And if it's proof, they're going to go down a road they've never been down before, because law enforcement has now been owned. What happened was, it happened to be true what Darren Brown showed, and the RCMP of mission men and women stood by Abbotsford. When Henry wanted the homeless shelters through Pam for the Red Lion Hotel and was running his vans for this elite stuff, and everything Henry did, it was about money. It was never about this community. And anybody he could use and manipulate, that's what Henry did. And if you didn't buckle to Henry, Henry then had you threatened, and if you didn't listen to Henry, Henry was going to run wild with his team. Henry was lobbying and taking advantage of the city chair for his friends, Ron Funkadiverse and everything. When Mike Sir stood here, that cowardly little piece of garbage, that crap of Abbotsford, and it is my job as Commander-in-Chief to tell you, when my guys ain't performing, they're going to get this on them. And beg for the homeless shelter, and they rent ads. Oh, it's so great. They're out of the cold and everything. It was closed down here a month and a half ago in the winter. No place for the homeless to go. The homeless are in front of the MCC huddering. They're under the bridges again. They're all over. They're in front of Tim Hortons. They're everywhere. The people that fit them said because they're scattered, there was no need for this. This building could still be here, could be feeding them. But we're doing it because the highway's coming. Look at that, Trans-Canada Highway here. Look at it, look at it. Do you see it? They didn't do nothing. It should have been restated again. They took it out in 3 days because it was scandaling everything. When Ross Seaman stuck the rocks on Gladys Avenue, not with his pickup truck, he didn't use his pickup truck. No, Ross couldn't use his Tundra pickup truck to haul the rocks. He used city's resources and city's dump trucks and the Abbotsford police to tug rocks for Ron Funka, the developer, and I showed you that, for his friends. He didn't use the resources of them rocks and that resources that he stole for building a homeless shelter. No, Ross couldn't do that. But Vicky Hopes didn't write articles about that. Vicky Hopes didn't come in here and write articles about this, because when the RCMP knew that Henry's line of defense were the Abbotsford police, and what Vicky Hopes could steer away from the law and tried to promote Ross as this great guy, was misleading the law and also voters and misleading everybody. But it was also slandering other people with false stuff. Vicky Hopes knew when Henry mangled me and left me for dead and didn't write it because he needs to finish the term to vote Ross all his jobs of Ross is what Ross has got in. I told you, the more pressure I push on Henry Brown and order on Henry Brown, the more Ross will fail, so will everybody else. You can see him. Henry, what do we do now? This is Dave Lowens, Nancy Friesen. Henry, what do we do? When them lines were drawn, I picked up the phone to unbelievable people outside of Abbotsford, knowing to hold the evidence away from the APD. When Henry hit me in this Alexis car and fled from the scene, and Abbotsford police wouldn't charge him because they were his boss in the elites, and then blocked every avenue to make it impossible to have Henry charged, our witnesses to sign, our video cameras and footage, and then started threatening you so you would back off. It brought a spark that I couldn't even believe. Politicians, John Rustad, conservative leaders, it brought the NDP people in, it brought Terry Beach's offices into it of Trudeau, it brought unbelief, it brought developers, it brought neighbors, it brought friends of friends of friends of friends. And it brought it all in because Henry owned, controlled, and manipulated the whole of Abbotsford Police's function. It's all under him. You could see the Abbotsford Police Chief knows it, and everybody knows it. That is why they couldn't stand here, none of them, and say the Abbotsford Police is a great building. It helps with gangs across Canada. This elite building that we stole and we fought it off of taxpayers, the cost overruns and the manipulation we're doing was taking money for the contractors to get it out the back door, something that I learned way in advance from Peter Wall. How to get the money and watch the trade stealing it. Only 4 loads of gravel and you order on the time card 200 loads and you stick the bill to the city. Right, Ross Siemens? That's how it does. This is what was being done. But I want to paint you the picture today of all these homeless that are freezing today. We don't see Archway Community Services Director Gleason slamming Evie now because it'll affect Ross, this screw up. We don't see Vicky Holt. No, she's working on the story about the infrastructure from Carney and that money, all that money. We don't see the Abbotsford Police here, veterans and chiefs saying it's a bloody crying shame and pushing it. No, we don't. I made it clear. When I went down this journey and Abbotsford's elite top wouldn't sit down with witnesses and bring them in the top of the police department, she was a screw up now. They're gonna beg everything. The Abbotsford Police created a thing. Think of me. Think of me. I told you they gotta go back to basics. They're pulling every stupid little stunt they can pull. How do we, think of me, how do I save my filthy job? I've been here 10, 15 years. I'm gonna be let go. Think of Bubba in jail, because that's what you need to understand as a police officer. You failed the law, you covered for your friends, you made a 2-tier system, and you terrorize people and you threaten them. You need to have that done and live in the same fear. And Big Bubba, 6'8", 320 pounds in jail, is waiting for you. Well, Mike Sure knew this. So you can see at the new police building, nobody came to cut a ribbon or prop it up. They're diminished. They don't know what to do. You would think that a weasel, the little weasel that did it himself, Mike Sure, would stand here and say, you know, when I was the chief, it was long overdue for Henry to have a bigger military and more strength to beat people. Let me leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. When Henry's own son, Darren Braun, who opened this door, and I stood up as a politician, not only as a politician, they all came in when they saw me being threatened. Even the NDP came in to help me. And I said, well, you know, I'm on social media calling you guys out. And they said, nah, we respect that. You're allowed to debate, but we don't allow politicians to be threatened and be brutalized. And that is the NDP. Gurpreet Rai and all these people came in and saw this. This was attacked. When Abbotsford police officers, take this in your mind, take it in your mind. I want my chief and his veteran officers, I'm on the phone to Surrey, and I'm telling Surrey I got the task force lined up to go get the gangs. And I'm telling Surrey, get in here and make us look good. We can't, just Surrey. RCMP have to and must take over Abbotsford. Let me outline it all for you. You saw the prostitute they picked up, the Dodge Chargers they ran. You saw the threats on Councillor Mobile, what could have sparked a South Asian riot against police officers. It was the RCMP's wisdom and knowledge, knew they couldn't stand by it and said, call it out. It's not only an attack on the South Asian, it's attack for greed, and the task force should have never did that, and they should have been investigated. When Mike knew he couldn't hold it, I fleed to Surrey. Let me go set up my criminal operation in Surrey as chief. That's why he's not back here. When them officers held that guy at the sports center, and they wailed on him, 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 and they wailed on him. And then he went back laughing and giggling. We busted his face up. We smashed him. The uniform will take us. The protection will take us. And he did this on the uniform. This is what happened. Henry Brown never went to the stage and said, I'm disgusted with the Abbotsford police, the bullies, the goons, the unprofessionalism, the garbage of Mike Sears and his leadership, nothing. Darren Brown said, my dad didn't know what to do. He shit his drawers. He was like, and he said, then there came a little tiffy fight. My dad owed Mike for all the shit he did to Mogel. He couldn't call it out. He couldn't hit poor Mikey. They didn't maintain a professional distance. So the mayor couldn't go and beat up the police chief that was out of control, and the police chief couldn't do him. It was basically one blackjacking the other one. And they couldn't then do what was right. And then now they figured we're fleeing. We'll get rid of everybody. We'll flee. We won't mention nothing. So I want to leave you with this today. We're in -2 and 3 weather. The homeless are out on the street. Their shelter's been shut down. And Vicky Hopes can't write an article with Ken against poor Ross Siemens. Can't write an article, Abbotsford resources were used to help Ron Funk. Can't write an article to hurt Patricia Dreesen, who stole the farmers' money with Archway being the director to enrichinate her Christmas and make sure her furnace was going. She can't write anything. Let me tell you why. I made it clear when Darren Brown said, my dad owns and controls them all. Every one of them got to go down on their hands to my dad, and that is what he said. When he opened that door and showed me how he controlled them in the manipulation, the money, oh, Vicky Hopes, the money. Think of the money, Vicky Hopes. Who's Vicky Hopes fooling? The RCMP? Who's she fooling? She ain't fooling the Abbotsford public, and she ain't gonna fool me because she knows that this shit here will get you caught, because it wasn't. It was to slander candidates that were running in Abbotsford so I could get my people in, to attack innocent people and cover from the real law so I could get in and benefit, not to run the city. And the Abbotsford police were instrumental of playing the massive role. It sickened me the other night when I saw them ride around with the TV and said, think of me. Think of me. Who thought of that stupid thing? We're out this New Year's Eve and we're going to be out in full uniform trying to rebuild the filthy company and save our filthy ass. So we're going back to the basics. That way we can lie to the general public and say we got 3,200 off the road for drinking and driving. And we were doing good. And that's due to our new building we stole and the cost overruns. And look at us, professional men that couldn't take statements from neighbors, from elite people, and do criminal reports because they were going to protect the elite Henry Braun. Putting themselves in liability, putting themselves as officers, knowing that that criminal act has to go before the courts, and you got to be judged very severe because the mob walked in and bought you, wrecking your careers and your life. The rest of this shit is just now in Abbotsford, leaning out as buddies to buddies. Help me, please help me, Surrey. Please help me. Look at the frickin' mess I'm in Abbotsford. Please help me. Please help me, sir. Help me. This is the Abbotsford police. We know where the gangs are. We're out at night picking up hookers and prostitutes, racing cars and everything. They were bloody childs in this stupid company, propped up on their advertising, given a gun, swole their heads up, and ran around and abused our community and attacked them. Why do I fight so hard? When they went into Yale and beat that young African kid and told him he wasn't allowed in the park, there wasn't no repercussion or firing or talking or nothing. The Safety Standards Act, is my check coming? Can I get fatter and lazier and useless? Oh, go intimidate people. Tell them we're the police. Scare them. Tell them we're the police. And we're buddy-buddy systems, something that doesn't even happen on our jobs. We all stand away from each other and we don't cover up heinous acts on families and that. These men couldn't do it. That is why I argue the RCMP are the best. They rotate, they discipline, they don't hide, they put it before the courts and they do it. This shit they're gonna try to save Abbotsford is the elites that need it to save their own skins. So let me tell you this. You gotta look at Abbotsford now and know when our officers are laying dead in the streets that were they working for Henry Braun pushing somebody so hard that the people retaliated because they knew it was being blocked by the law. In my opinion, I believe that. I only lucked out when I walked in and was being threatened and Darren Braun didn't know who I was and told. I lucked out because I took it over to the Mission RCMP and didn't walk in with evidence into the Abbotsford police so they could squash it. It is called luck. That is called luck. Pure luck that this happened. But the Abbotsford police have misled this community, have misled law enforcement. They abused this community. They're a bunch of childish brats. They ran around unpunished, undisciplined, no oversight, nothing. Smashing people's cameras and then attacking politicians so Henry could own the town. And that is what was taking place in my town. So I turned to the world stage to get publics to watch it, to the world to watch it, to say that these buggers in uniform thought they were untouchable. And I went to the social media worldwide to show that the EDA managed, people on Ed's EDA witnessed it and all this. And the Abbotsford men and women, I'm a professional investigator, I'm a sergeant, I'm a real sergeant, covered it. And wouldn't go do their legwork and paperwork. And the only reason you cover it is for your buddy and your pal. And you wrecked the police department, you wrecked your name, you know everybody's gonna know who you are, call you pieces of shit, you attacked the general public, you left a person for dead, you threatened them, you tried to block them, you did this. But this attack on the homeless, this a brutal attack on the homeless, now nobody. Where's my 5 leaders speaking out? What Ross Siemens has done is unbelievable to the homeless. Where are they speaking out and calling this out? They can't. They got to defend Ross Siemens. They got to hold Ross Siemens up. Even Vicky Hopes has got to hold him up. And that is what happens when Paul Harvey used to say, now you know the truth. So I will tell you this, Colin Watts. Before Monday rolls around, I would stand up and say, you know, the Abbotsford police wasted a lot of money on taxpayers' money to get the homeless from in front of the Abbotsford police and make sure they got to the shelter. This cowardly shithole mayor went and closed this facility down. The homeless, as a human being, the homeless are out freezing. We got to use hospital now in this cold weather and resources now to go out and get them because they can freeze to death. And who caused it? Ross Siemens. And what you should be saying, if any homeless are laying dead on the street, Ross Siemens and the city councils should be charged with first-degree murder. And that is what I would expect out of my cowardly police chief, Colin Watts, on Monday morning, live behind Walmart BC.